You make a ton of noise for all the other campuses across the state. We love you guys. And we just want to say at the top, if it's your first time at Fuse, man, we are so glad that you're here. Can we make some noise for all of our friends across the state? If it's your first time here, we're glad that you're here. And if we haven't had the chance to meet yet, my name is Josh Bull. I get to be a part of the team here. And I'm really excited to share with you tonight. We are in the middle of a series called Enjoy the Ride. Can you say enjoy the ride on the count of three? 1, 2, 3. You're sounding great tonight. Well, as I know a lot of the team shared just a moment ago, the anchor text for this series has been in Hebrews 12, which simply says this, and I'll read it to us again, that for the moment, all discipline, say discipline, seems painful rather than pleasant, but later it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. And the whole idea of this conversation that we've been having over the past few weeks is trying to really get around this idea of spiritual disciplines, which is just simply practices and ways that will help you follow Jesus. This is not about some religious good deeds or things that you can do, but this is actually helpful rhythms and ways for you to follow Jesus. Because at Fuse, our heart is that we want to help you graduate into a lifetime of following Jesus. And if you take a hold of what we're talking about in this series, I really believe it's going to encourage you, help you, and ultimately help you fall more in love with Jesus and follow Him. And I want to put a quote before you tonight. It's by a man named Dallas Willard, and he says this, that being His apprentice, Jesus, therefore is not a matter of special religious activities, but is an orientation and a quality of my entire existence. The idea of following Jesus is not just trying to do some good things or morally good deeds, but is actually orientating your whole existence around following Jesus and letting that shape the way that you live. So if you're in middle school today, I believe that this message can challenge you, help you, and set you on the trajectory of following Jesus for your life. No matter what you're going through, I just believe what we're going to talk about tonight is going to help you. I want to ask a question at the top. Are there any roller coaster lovers out there? Come on, make some noise, my roller coaster lovers. What about the people who are like, keep me far away from a roller coaster? Okay. Well, I am a roller coaster lover, okay? I love a roller coaster. When I was a wee little boy, I couldn't wait till I got old enough and big enough to go on the roller coasters. You know how there's those measuring lines, like you got to hit a certain line to get on the roller coaster, you know what I'm talking about? Some of you are still trying to get there. You'll get there eventually, I promise. But once you get there, it's like the best feeling in the world. You roll up on the roller coaster, it's game on, boys and girls. Well, can I give you a confession? I still have to get measured when I go to roller coasters because I am too physically tall for roller coasters. So what I do, they actually come and put something in my head to see if I physically, my whole lanky 6'6" body could actually fit on this thing without losing limbs on these roller coasters, chopping it off, you know what I mean? So when I go to our theme park, I think I've got a picture for you. This is me and Taylor in Santa Monica. There's a little roller coaster behind us. Look how cute. Actually, this past week was 6 years ago when we moved to America, and we're just loving our life. You can pull that down. But this is 6 years ago, roller coaster. And it's like, I'm too big to go on a roller coaster. Like, it's an atrocity, okay? I love me a roller coaster when I get on them. It's hard to get on them these days. But if you can find me a roller coaster that fits a 6'6" guy, I'll be there. But the thing about a roller coaster is like, you know that moment where you get strapped in, like you get in the chair, and it's like they put on the harness, and it's like just a teenage guy, like some of you guys, and they're not really paying attention. Like, bro, I need you to check. Like, is this thing in? Like, I don't want to fall. This is precious property, you know? And then all of a sudden, like, it starts clicking, and it's like, oh boy, here we go, game on. And I'm all in. Like, I'm hands up the whole time. Like, I'm like, here we go, boys. Put your hands in the air like you just don't care, like you're ready to go. And it starts going and going. It's like, bam, like the whiplash is off. You're going away, drool's hitting down your face. You're screaming as loud as you can. All of a sudden, you hit a turn, and it's like G-force wants to throw you this way, but you're going this way. It's a wild ride. You're going up the mountain on the roller coaster. It's like, this is the moment. This is the moment. Taylor, get your hands up. Like, I'm like ready to go. Screaming, off we go down the roller coaster, and then that moment takes place when it feels like only 3 seconds, and the roller coaster is over, and your whole body just goes, kaboom. You know what I'm talking about? I think that's a great picture of how we live life, that life so often wants to move you at such a quick pace that the adrenaline's going. We live in this hustle culture where you got to get yours, do the things. You wake up in the morning, you all of a sudden, information hits you on your phone, you get to school, there's pressure from relationships and things around you. You've got the pressure of assignments, you go home, go to practice, you come home, you've got maybe have a bite to eat, then you're staying up late doing assignments. Then all of a sudden you're on TikTok till 3 o'clock in the morning, and you go to sleep, you wake up, you do it all again. Life moves at such a busy pace. I don't know if you feel that. But you know that you weren't actually created to live that way? You weren't actually created to live with this crazy pace, and your soul wasn't designed to live like that. And what I want to quickly put before you is some simple practices that can take you off the crazy pace of the life and actually help you follow Jesus. Don't be crippled with anxiety and worry and stress and all the things that the world wants you to carry, and actually simply follow Jesus in the midst of a crazy world. Mark chapter 2, it says this is what Jesus says about the Sabbath. This is the first one that I want to put before you. Mark 2, verse 22, this is what it says. This is Jesus talking. It says, "And he said to them, the Sabbath was made for man, not man made for Sabbath." This is the first practice that I want to quickly look at for just a moment, and I could do a whole preach on this, is this idea of the Sabbath. Give me a wave if you've heard about this idea of the Sabbath. Okay, some of you. This is what it simply means. I've got a simple definition for us. The Sabbath is to cease and to celebrate. The Sabbath is to cease and to celebrate. You can write that down. Sabbath is to cease and to celebrate. It's a simple idea that God created for us to enjoy, a rhythm, a lifestyle. 24-hour period to cease from the work and the things and the toil of this world and enter into great rest and enjoy God. Now, you might have heard of this before, or maybe not, but it's a simple idea, and I want to practically put before you an idea that if you spent one day a week, and you might be 12 years old and be like, what on earth are you talking about? I just believe if you take some of this and apply it to your life, it could change the way that you live. So this is what it could practically look like for you. One day a week where you want to invite God in and say, I'm here to celebrate and enjoy you. Saturday night, say Saturday night. On Saturday night, you have a great meal. Yell at me your favorite meal. Steak, chicken and rice, someone, I don't know what, spaghetti, I don't know. You name it, you and your family, if your family don't want to partake, you go to Zaxby's, you get your favorite meal, and maybe go with some friends and just have a great meal. But during this, you're conscious that God is your creator, He's for you, and you're just enjoying a great meal in great community, and that's how you start a day. You go to sleep, you enter into rest, and you start the next morning by going to church. Say, we love church. If you go to another church, we bless you, but man, come to New Spring. Come be a part of what God is doing on a Sunday morning. Worship, be a part of the community of faith that we're a part of. Then go home, go to Cracker Barrel or your favorite Chipotle or whatever it is. Eat a meal again, and then in the afternoon, it's just as simple as this. What's an activity that really brings you life and invite God in on it? Maybe that's you want to go shoot some hoops and say, hey God, let's go shoot some hoops and I'm just going to enjoy this. Or maybe it's you love painting and art, and in the afternoon on a Sunday, you want to do these things that bring you life, but you're also celebrating and enjoying God in the midst of it. And what it's doing is it's saying, I'm getting off the roller coaster and the craziness of life, and I'm going to create a day to enjoy God and enjoy the things around Him and the community that He's put around me. And that's something I want to challenge you to talk in with your Fuse groups is, how can you do that? But what I want to do now is spend the rest of our time really diving into this idea around silence and solitude, okay? Silence and solitude. I want to give you a definition, and this is what it says, is that silence and solitude is a moment of intentional time in the quiet to be alone with God. Silence and solitude is a moment of intentional time to be alone with God. If you look at the life of Jesus, and I would encourage you to do so if you haven't done, is read through the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. and simply look at how Jesus lives. Look at the way he interacts with one another and the friends that he has around him. But watch his lifestyle, and you will see consistently that Jesus gets alone into silence and into solitude. Silence is simply eradicating the noise of the world, getting away from the noise and the chaos, and solitude is extended time away from, withdrawing from the noise and the chaos and things of this world and meeting with God. Okay, so Luke 5, this is what it says, is, but Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. Jesus consistently would be doing life, he'd be healing people, he'd be traveling through towns, eating meals, doing all these things, but consistently he would withdraw to lonely places to meet with God. You and I live in a chaotic, busy life where so many things are happening, but how often do you actually withdraw to go to meet with God? This is like my favorite topic. I love talking about this because we live in a world that cares so much about the exterior things that keep moving, hustle, look on your phone, do all these things, but we so often don't actually pause for a moment to slow down enough and to spend some time in silence and solitude and get alone intentionally with God. So for the next few moments, I want to give you 3 really practical ways at what takes place when you actually enter into silence. And hopefully you, yourself, whether you're 12 years old or a graduating senior. Also, can we make some noise for all the graduating seniors, man? We're so proud of you. Seriously, if you've graduated or about to graduate, man, we're so grateful for you. We're proud of you. We can't wait to celebrate you at the Gauntlet. And man, just shout out to the seniors. But whatever chapter of life that you're in, this applies to you, okay? And I want to make it really practical. So this is what the first thing that takes place when we enter into a time of silence. Are you ready? The first one is this, is that it reveals. Can you say reveals? Say it louder. Say reveals. When you enter into silence, it reveals. If you love just hanging out with your friends, give me a wave. Like if you love just hanging out this summer, you've got great plans. I was talking to some guys earlier. The plan for summer is just to hang with the boys. Like I don't know what your plan is, but I just loved when I was a teenager, summer particularly, like it was just hangs with the guys, and often we'll either go to someone's house and we'll be hanging out, having a great day, playing whatever we were playing. It might have been basketball, go play some PlayStation, do whatever it was. We have this big whole hang. A lot of people come to the house, we do it. But then the sad moment comes when they got to leave. You know, it's like you've had a great time, you've ate great food, you've had frozen pizza, you've done all the things, and there's time for them to leave. And as they leave your house, like you're standing at the door saying, see you, man, I'll see you later. They're leaving the house. You close the door. Then you turn around and your parents are standing right there. And then it's like, they're like, clean up. And it's like, I don't want to clean up. And it's like, no, you made all this mess. And you look around and there's food wrappers everywhere. The kitchen's a mess, all the games and all the things. And you all of a sudden realize that you've spent a lot of time in activity, done a lot of things, and now it reveals the mess of the activity. That's simply what takes place when you enter into silence, is that you slow down enough to look and realize, man, what's going on in my soul? It reveals how you're actually doing. And when I practically do this, it feels difficult. It's not an easy thing to do, to create some silence and to create some moments to pause and reflect. I would much rather, I think if we're being honest, there's things that we would much rather numb ourselves on than actually bring to light the difficult things that we're walking through. We would much rather numb ourselves by scrolling on TikTok till 3 o'clock in the morning and looking at someone else's life than actually deal with what's going on in our own lives. For some of us, we would much rather go and look at pornography and look at someone else, what's going on, than actually deal with the need that we just want our Heavenly Father to remind us of His love for us. Some of us, we just want to veg out watching Netflix all day long because we just want to escape to what's taking place in this fairy tale life than deal with the hard things that are taking place at home and the things that you're walking through. We numb ourselves on these things all around us, but what silence does is it reveals the reality of what you're walking through. Silence sometimes feels like a furnace. It feels like it illuminates the areas in our life where we're struggling, where we're doubting, where we're worried, where we're anxious, and it brings them to light. I love the Psalms because they're completely honest, and you can be honest with God. I talk to a lot of you, and you feel like you've got to try really hard to impress God, and that's not what He's looking for. He's looking for your honesty. He's looking for who you really are. Psalm 42, it says this, "Why are you cast down, O my soul? And why are you in turmoil within me? Hope again in God, for I shall again praise Him, my salvation and my God." This is what takes place, is like when you slow down enough to pause. And practically what this looks like for me is like I wake up in the morning, I make a cup of coffee because I need that coffee because I've got 2 little kids who keep me up all night long. I get up really early in the morning because that's the only time I could find some peace and quiet. I make some coffee, I read a little bit of the scriptures, and then right now, because the weather's feeling nice, I go sit out on my front porch, and it's not something big and dramatic. I just spend a few moments in quiet and in silence. And often my mind will wander. I might start thinking about these things that are going on in my life, but then all of a sudden the angst and the worry starts to creep up within me. The things that I am stressed about, the things that I'm worried about, and I just want to make it really practical for you. This is what I treat it like. I just imagine when I take a moment of silence, and you can do this. It might be in your bedroom, it might be in your car when you're driving, just creating silence. And you start to just realize, how am I actually doing? You ask the question, man, what's going on? And I like to think of it like this, like you look internally and it reveals like what's within you. And I just got these table tennis balls because I thought it would be a clear example. Is like, this represents the stress that you might have about your future. And you just put it in an invisible bucket in your mind. This might be the anxious worrying about the friendship that you have. It starts to reveal, man, I'm actually really concerned about my parents' relationship right now. I'm actually really worried about what I'm going to do with the rest of my life, and I don't really feel like I've got money for college, and I don't know what I'm going to do. And it starts to reveal what's going on within you, and you bring it all before God, and you've got nothing to hide. And what takes place is you take all those thoughts captive in the silence, and it feels uncomfortable. It's not nice and it's not easy, but this is the real me. This is the real what I'm going through. It's not the fake facade. It's not the things around, the real things that give you angst, worry, and things. And you put it all in a bucket and you just imagine, God, you're in control and you're taking it all, and it's not here, not welcome anymore. And it reveals how you're actually doing, but not only that, it reveals who God is. It reveals how you actually are, but it reveals who God is. And as you do that, what takes place, try to be really practical and helpful, it reorientates. That's the second thing. You can write that down. It reorientates. It reorientates. So often we can all get distracted. We can get, I find it all the time. Like I sit down, I want to spend some time with God, and then all of a sudden, like I'm just start thinking about, I might be there, and then all of a sudden, like I get a text message and I start texting someone. Then all of a sudden I pick up Instagram because why not check Instagram because I just picked up my phone. And then all of a sudden I'm on the Explore page and I'm watching a funny reel about some prank that took place. And then all of a sudden I'm looking at someone's account in India, and all of a sudden I made a new friend somewhere far away. Like you can just go down a rabbit trail and you're distracted. I was like, man, I was supposed to be here hanging out with you, God. Have you ever felt like it's hard because you get distracted when you try and spend some time with God? There are practical ways that you can help reorientate yourself to following Him, rather than just sitting there and all of a sudden be like, squirrel, and you're just off looking somewhere else. You know, there are ways that you can do this. What it often is just simply this: focus on Jesus. Focus on Jesus. In my mind, again, this is just helpful for me. It may be helpful for you. I just think about the name and the person of Jesus. I just think about it. And when my mind wanders and I start thinking this, I'm coming back to Jesus. When I think about and I start getting distracted, I'm thinking about Jesus. And all of a sudden, the things that I'm worried about that I often can zoom in on. Do you know it's easy to zoom in on the negative things? It's easy to zoom in on the difficulty, the things that we're walking through. And if you come and spend time and you reveal who God is and you take time to reorientate yourself, what takes place is you reorientate yourself to Jesus. You reorientate and remind your soul that you might be walking through difficulty right now, and you remember Jesus, say, no, Jesus is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Jesus is my safe place. Jesus is my refuge. Jesus is who I have put my faith and confidence in. I don't have my faith and confidence in Josh Bull. I don't have my faith and confidence in what I can do. My trust is in Jesus. You've got to reorientate yourself. If you feel distracted, right now I'm talking and preaching to you, but if I just stood back here and was looking over here distracted, I wouldn't actually be focused on what's in front of me. Focus on Jesus. Reorientate yourself to Him. The last one is this, is that it renews. It renews. Are there any runners out there, like track people who feel like they can just run really fast? Come on, the track people are really humble, okay? I was not this, but I feel like I'm starting to get the itch, okay? What I mean is not really. I have zero desire to be out on the track field, but I've started to appreciate running, okay? I used to be like some of you dudes, or like trying to be really healthy in the gym. I've kind of given up on that. I just like to run now. Like I like to run, and I've tried before running, and I wore these shoes intentionally. I've got these shoes right here. They're pretty crusty. You can see them right here. Look at that. Nasty shoes, Josh. These shoes I've had for about 7 years, and I use them in the gym sometimes, but I do occasionally run in these. Every time I do, I'm just in horrible pain. Like my knees are hurting, my shins are hurting, I'm getting old. But recently, I went and I invested in a new pair of running shoes, and it's changed the game. You see this right here, say, wow, that's beautiful, Josh. These running shoes, man, I put them on, it was like I was floating on a cloud. Like I've never had running shoes before. I've been living under a rock, and as I put them on, it's like they just take my feet on a joy run. Like I'm like, man, they just move in a way that I don't know how, but it's like it makes life so much easier. There's all this padding, so I don't get sore feet. Why do I tell you this? What takes place, this was designed for running. These shoes were designed for running. You were designed for the presence of God. You were designed to spend time in the presence of God, and as you do that, what takes place? You get renewed. You get refreshed. You spend time in His presence, and man, you just feel like, woo, I'm leaving on a cloud. I came in here with my worry, my angst, the things. I spent some time in silence and in solitude, and man, I feel like even though my external realities are challenging and difficulty, I have an inward reality that I know who my Savior is. I know His presence is with me. Man, He refreshes me, and now I can go and live my life. And I'm inviting Him with me. Look at this, what Matthew says. Matthew says this, 11. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. So many of you are weary. So many of you have got these angst and things that you're carrying. And Jesus says, come to me, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Learn from me. I am gentle and humble in heart, and I will find rest for your souls. My yoke is easy, and my burden is light. I'm so tired of seeing so many young people weary, burdened, crippled with the pressures of the world. And if we would go against the cultural norms of riding on the roller coaster consistently and actually take some time to find some silence, to spend some time in His presence and watch what takes place as you leave out of there and as my water bottle falls off the table. I want to be a person who falls in love with the still small whisper of God. I want to be a person who spends time with Him consistently. Don't buy the lie of the world that you need to act and project yourself to be this perfect person. Jesus says, just come to me. Whatever you're dealing with, whatever it is, I will take it. And you can be refreshed and renewed in my presence. Isaiah 40 says this, and we're about to bring our time to a close, is that even youths shall faint and be weary, and young men shall be exhausted. I don't know if you ever feel that. Young people will be weary and will be exhausted, but they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. Those who wait on God will renew their strength. Are you going to wait on God, or are you going to keep trusting in yourself? Are you going to wait on God, or are you going to keep running this crazy pace? If someone had told me this when I was 14 years old, it would have changed how I lived my teenage years and my whole life. I just kept going and going and going. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. So I want to give you really quickly some practical ways that you can do this. It doesn't have to be waking up really early in the morning and sitting on a front porch, but that's how I like to do it. But I want to put before you some practical ways that you can create moments of silence and solitude. And if you do this, I just really believe that this is like the secret sauce of following Jesus. Some practical ways. Don't use your phone first thing in the morning. Hard to do, I know, crazy. Put your phone to charge, maybe it's in the bathroom, in the kitchen. Don't bring it into your room at night. When you wake up in the morning, let the first thing you do, like I did it this morning. My son had a fever last night. He woke up at 6 o'clock this morning. I was up early before him, and I just came before God. Simple whisper. God, I surrender again to you. I love you so much. Enter into some time just with God in the morning. It doesn't have to be forever, hours and hours. Here's another one. Sit in silence for 5 minutes. You can do it. And again, just reorientate yourself to Jesus. When you feel like your mind starts to wander, get a phone out. You might need to set a timer for 5 minutes and then slide the phone to the other side of the room so you don't get distracted on an app or something. Next one. This is crazy. Don't listen to music when you're in the car driving. Like, I love it. It's just a moment to just let your mind relax and rewind and spend some time, you and God, in a quiet place. Delete social media from your phone. Some of you group leaders, you might need to challenge your guys or girls. This week, delete some apps off your phone. Look at your screen time on your phone. Bring that down. Another one I love. Go for long walks, shoot hoops, paint, exercise, whatever it might be, and invite God in on that activity. What do you love to do? Invite God in on it. A special moment for you and Him. And then as you end your day, remind yourself again of Jesus and spend just a few moments just with Him. Lots of practical ways that you can do this. We want to again put a big challenge before you for the next week, and I hope these challenges have been helpful for you. Simply that we want to challenge you with this. Spend 5 minutes in silence to start your day. This is the challenge this week. Group leaders, take a hold of this. I really believe you can do this. Invite God in on activities. What's an activity that you want to invite God in on this week? What's something you love to do and you and God can do it together? Practice the Sabbath. Next Sunday, how can you make a really special day that you and your community and you and God together? And aim to decrease your screen time and social media. And now, in this moment, I just want us to actually practice this. You can put your notebooks away, Bibles away, and we're just going to pause and reflect. I don't want anyone distracting. If you haven't been paying attention this whole time, this is a moment. The other day, my son has become in love with coming up to me like this. He's just turned 3 years old. And he comes up to me all the time, me and Taylor, he says this, Daddy, Daddy. I'm like, what, buddy? He says, Daddy, I have a surprise for you. I say, what, buddy? The other day he came up to me, it was so funny. He was wearing like board shorts, but they were like sagging like crazy. You know, this big thing in his pocket. And he came up to me and said, Daddy, I have a surprise for you. I said, okay. He came out and he reached in his pocket, just so excited. And he came before me and he brought out just like a rock, just like this. He said, Daddy, this is for you. And I took it just like loving this rock. And I had this moment and I just like had this picture of my Father in heaven that He will take the rocks, the weighty things that I have, and He'll take it right. My son just walked off with his pants not sagging anymore, just light and free, and just went off to go play with Paw Patrol or whatever he was doing. And this rock has just like been in my mind as I've been praying for this. Like, there are weighty things that you guys are carrying that God wants to take from you. There are things that are bogging you down, things in your hands that it's like just by making a moment of silence, God wants to take it. Come to him, all who are weary and burdened. If you create this practice consistently in your life, I promise you, you will breathe. It might be uncomfortable at first, but it'll change the way that you live. And so right now, we're going to spend a couple moments. Would you bow your head? And I just want to guide us. And there's going to be a couple moments of silence, and it might be uncomfortable for you. But we're going to practice this together right now. Just close your eyes. Something I find helpful is just open your hands in your lap. Just ready to receive. What's that thing that's been holding you down? What's that thing that you want to bring before God? The worry, the angst. Just picture yourself throwing it in a bucket, saying, God, you've got it. Slow down your breathing. Focus on Jesus. Where do you need to reorientate yourself? Where do you need to remind yourself of that Jesus is on the throne? Some of you have got something that you've done, shame that you've carried that no one knows about, and tonight you want to give it over to Jesus. You've been holding on to it. Some of you, it's bitterness, unforgiveness. And ask him to refresh you in this moment. Let him refresh you.